Hi everyone. I would like to start off today by talking about addicts and drug addiction. In today's society, we know that drugs is a huge part of everybody's lives, especially the younger generation. Did you know that in 2012, the cost to house an inmate in prison was around $31,000, and the cost to have an inmate go to rehab for 60 to 90 days was only $7,500? Addiction is a disease that needs to be treated with proper care. Rehabilitation will help addicts have a safe environment that they can grow in and help their addiction be stopped. I have seen firsthand from my sister, a recovering heroin addict, that jail or prison is not the route that we need to take. We need to take the rehab route, which is basically you need to put the addicts in rehab instead of jail or prison, because rehabilitation centers have helped shape her to the woman that she is today, rather than just sending her to prison or jail for the crime that she's committed. According to the research at the Pew Research Center, they reported that 2/3 of Americans would like to see illegal drug offenders go to rehab instead of jails, so they can get them off the streets rather than be in incarceration. Drug use happens every single day, and it doesn't matter who you are or what you do. The only thing that matters is what we do after the fact that they are caught. Do we send them to rehab or do we send them to jail? Cost is one of the main concerns in people's lives and the court systems for people that have addicts addiction, or if they're in the addict's life. Let's take a look at the difference between the cost of housing an inmate and in incarceration or rehab. As stated in my introduction, it costs less money to send addicts to a rehab rather than a prison or a jail. That means the addict's insurance can pay for most of their rehab while they're getting better, and the addicts pay the rest of the cost. Whereas in prison, taxpayers pay every single amount of money that needs to be into an inmate. Initial drug treatment is less expensive than incarceration. Wouldn't you want to see your paying tax dollars be spent on rehabs or prisons? A new research found that sending drug offenders with a history of drug and alcohol abuse to an addiction center rather than putting them in jail or prison helps them, and it's not only the right choice, it's the only choice. It will also cut down crime rates and save billions of dollars. Now you're probably wondering, how is this going to put them by saving them billions of dollars? Some of the costs that go into putting a person into jail would be law enforcement, court costs, those would both be dropped, and there's fewer arrests because the person is getting help and they're not in jail, and then they're out of jail, and then they're back in jail. Also, the cost of health insurance for uninsured patients with living addictions are cut in half. By putting them in a rehab center, they're saving money that they used to spend on drugs or alcohol or prescription pills, and this can be put into the economy with good intentions if they're into a rehab center. Money is a huge factor for everybody's lives, including what to do with recovering addicts. As shown with supporting facts, rehabilitation for a recovering addict is far less cost-consuming and a better use of money for everybody. We can punish people for the crimes that they commit to get drugs, but that's not the only solution for treating it. Mental illness is a tough factor associated with addiction. Looking at the mental side of rehabs versus prisons, we will go in depth about how research shows rehabs affect addicts rather than just sending them to prison. Research and treatment provides more than 50% with mental illnesses also have an addiction to substance abuse. That means they are abusing substances at the same time as they have either depression, anxiety, PTSD, any type of disorder. In treatment centers, individual behavioral therapy goes on in the 12-step process in rehab, which allows them to cope with each illness that they're dealing with. They learn to cope with their mistakes and learn how to fix them, rather than if they're just thrown into a prison, they just know that what they're doing is bad and they need to be punished for it. Families are also affected. I firsthand know how this feels. You would rather see an addict go to rehab to get help than rather to just putting them in prison. Seeing your son or daughter, or even my sister, behind bars is never something a family wants to go through. With treatment, they can see the addict actually getting better. They can see progress, and you can tell in the difference in mood that it really helps. Once they're done with rehab, they come back a stronger person, and they can start making amends to their family and the community. Rehab not only helps the addict, but also they find a way to help the problem, cut it off at the source, and unlike sending it to prison, this can't help. It also gives family members closure to say bye to the old them and hello to the new them with the rehab. Finishing off, I would like to address how putting addicts into rehab rather than prison can rebuild society. Over 1 million people have admitted to using drugs in their lifetime. If we can decrease that number by helping the addicts rather than just sending them to prison, wouldn't you want to help? Putting addicts into rehab instead of prison can greatly affect not only their families, but everyone who's ever had an encounter with the addict. By placing them into the rehab, they are getting proper care they need to make a better life. Undergoing treatment for an illness is always the best thing to do. As of 2012, 23.5 million addicts have overcome addiction with the help of rehab centers. That's a lot. Another reason is to help reconnect with family members that they have lost due to addiction. Addiction is for practicing the 12-step program in rehab. Addicts are asked to make amends with their family and heal the pain that they have caused their loved ones. Becoming a better person is all around the best thing to do. If you can help make a difference in somebody's life, wouldn't you want to? Once they're out on their own, they'll be able to get a job, get a car, get a house, anything they can do to help stimulate the economy. Once they know how to help themselves, they can help other recovering addicts and help them on their journey and guide to success. While there are many great factors to when a person becomes sober, these are just a few. Imagine if all of those 1 million people were given treatment instead of just going to prison or jail. Just imagine how everybody's life would be affected. I just want to recap with everybody today that we can make differences in society and other people's life. Addiction has a limit on what it affects, and we need to be prepared to help everybody in need. In closing, I would just like everyone to take a moment and process what I have just informed you about. Rehab for an addiction is far less cost effective than sending somebody to jail or prison. Addicts need the proper care and attention as they should and they would get in the rehab centers, rather than if you just threw them in prison, they wouldn't get any help and they would have withdrawals and nothing is there to provide them. By doing this, they can rebuild all the lost relationships and damages that has been done because of their addiction. When they do this, they become the person they really truly want to be, and that will make everybody's world a difference. For me personally, living with my sister for over 6 years, this topic has greatly been influenced on me because I see what addicts are going through and I would like to help them. I would rather have them go to rehab than show that they're nothing just being sent to prison. They need love and support. This is why we need to change the way people view addicts and what to do with them. Just remember, the next time you meet somebody, they're fighting their own battles that you have no idea about. Whether it's addiction or something else. We need to push everybody to become the person that they want to be. Just think, if you were the one in an addict situation, would you want to go to rehab or jail?